and go.
Khaled's streaming live with some dudes from London. Khaled is streaming live, and here we'll all become wise. Khaled, yay! It's your channel.
I thought the first comment would be on the music. Did Martin just have an accident? Did he just fall over? Too much playing or something?
The metal almost killed me, but I'm okay.
So we thought, well, I don't know if we thought, but Martin, I thought it's funny that Martin is set up on top of a piano and he should play it. That would be cool. Last time he played a guitar. And I was thinking Lo Wang 4.0 Math Top G rap music made me do it. Would make a comment first on the Dust singing, but in fact, instead, he says, "Is Dusty against buying things now?" Let's click it because I did try to set it up so that the live chat shows. Last time somebody was complaining they didn't show, and I pressed the button so it does. Hopefully it will. Oh, Dusty is gone. Dusty. Is Dusty against us buying things now? Will he call people who purchase things far right?
He did disappear at one point. He did come back. There you go.
I'm back. Sorry, what? It's just against buying things now. Oh.
Shall we start then?
Okay. Grasping at straws. That's what that's called.
Okay, so we'll do our usual introductions to ourselves. Who's going to go first? Oh, can I start with what this is all about? And then we do individuals, yeah? So what this is all about is hopefully not us trying to be clever and just trying to prove who's right, but actually we're trying to make the world a better place. Talk about things that people care about, are affected by, and talk about them. And it's this weekly conversation between people with very different points of view. I think there's two things about it. One, the wide variety of topics. It's not narrowed by just what I'm interested in. Actually, I'm interested in all the stuff we talk about. I think it's great. And also the great thing about it is like we really go head to head. We don't really pull any punches, yet we keep going in a friendly, organized way. We listen to each other. We still keep going. We're still friends, all that kind of stuff, which is desperately missing in society. So many good things. Yes, heart back to you. So thank you for being here, guys. And who wants to start with intros about themselves for people who've never been to our stream?
Since I think it was my question. This,
yeah.
So I'll go first just to make sure we all keep the order correct. And well, my name is Mr. Dust. Comes with 2 years guarantee not to rust, which I'm very proud of, even after the EU Brexit debacle. And my thing is to perceive reality from the point of view of the human being who's an evolved evolutionary mammal, and how we are political, no matter the actions, all the actions we take are political. And I believe that political framework should be shrouded by a human rights constitution that guides us and guides our actions, what's legal, what's illegal, what is good, what is bad, what is profitable, wealthy, and it doesn't specify, it just guides. Thank you.
Cool. Who's next? Martin?
Yeah.
Go clock. Let's always
clockwise.
Go clockwise.
All right then. I will say I agree with Dust. And what did you call it? Human rights list of rules. What did you call it, Dust? That you believe in?
Human rights constitution.
Constitution. Yes. So I agree with him. My constitution is called. I'm a Muslim who teaches happiness happiness principles based on the Quran, and the principles come from a constitution called the Quran, based on human values, and just like Dust says, they guide. They don't force people. I'm not sure what you mean by specify, not guide, but this is, as God says in the Quran, he doesn't force his will, he guides. People have been given free will. So that's where I'm coming from. So I agree with Dust, but from a God point of view, go for it, Martin.
I'm Martin, as you can.
Hey.
I'm big on human rights and your right to protest, etc., things like that. I believe in building a society that's fair for everyone, to give everyone the best opportunity to be the best person they can be, because then everyone benefits and you build stronger communities, etc. My big passion is music and art, so the one topic is going to be really interesting for me, and that's why I started with a little bit of keyboard there. So thank you for listening to that. But I'm just coming from a peaceful, non-violent position on trying to solve big problems in the world. There you go.
Cool. Very good. All right. So, Dust, you want to introduce your topic? What is it?
Is buying things evil? Wow. Well, just go through the ground rules so that our viewers understand what's going on. We're all going to get 5 minutes each, thereabouts. I put it on a stopwatch, and people are allowed to interrupt, but obviously keep that to the minimum as much as possible, and keep it and be polite. And this conversation and dialogue will help to therefore inspire and understand what the purpose of a debate really looks like and is. Right. I think that covers it all. Okay, so is buying things evil? What a weird question, you think? And what kind of manifestation of a human being would ever generate such a ridiculous title like that? And it is utterly ridiculous. Well, it came from a man called Peter Singer, who wrote an article called I've lost my notes. Famine, Affluence, and Mortality. And if you can just give a yes or no, Khalid, have you heard of Peter Singer?
No.
Okay, thank you. So Peter Singer is an individual that wrote the kind of guide rules of why we should hate people. And he wrote it as in his mind, a very positive, wonderful way of interacting with reality through an intellectual, rigorous understanding of said reality. But his ethics paper called, I've lost my notes again, called Famine, Affluence, Mortality, in a summary, just makes every human being on this planet evil from his horrific point of view of the world and people. When we walk down a street, he thinks those people are evil if they're buying themselves nice clothes, if they're buying themselves a coffee, if they are buying things which could result in their minds being happier, more content and fulfilled. And he was profoundly twisted observations of human beings you walk by in the street into something horrific. And yes, I'm going to say it comes from his Abrahamic upbringing. His paper that he wrote, which was because he's from one of the major universities in America, and he sees perspective not from an intellectual point of view, but he was just confirming his childhood, what he was taught in his childhood, that people are horrible, and here's a good reason why we should hate them. And he's claimed it to be his intellectual property now, in a way, but really it's just his childhood, what he was taught to be from his family, to observe other people and how horrible they are, and justification for that.
Thing? Sorry, I missed a bit the bit about buying. What's that got to do with buying people being horrible?
If you buy something that isn't going, I was going to get onto this. Thank you.
Sorry.
So he creates this he created the idea that if you're not giving to charity, people who are dying in famine, and you are being affluent, he's calling buying a coffee affluent, which is insane. If you're not giving to charity, you are fundamentally contributing to someone dying in that moment of transaction. You could have saved a life, but you didn't. You chose instead of giving to charity, you gave it to yourself, buying a coffee, doing some basic little thing, buying some soap. I mean, he really is twisted individual. So just to clarify he thinks that charity is the solution to the world's problems. He thinks that famine and war are just magical entities which happen, and if we don't throw money at the problem, therefore you're evil for not doing that. And let's not forget, what Peter Singer forgets, he's just going to get a nice inheritance from his family. He's saying that he's doing these actions of giving to charity, but really he's got himself a nice house, a nice university job. His life is absolutely crusty and free from poverty and horror, which the majority of people on this planet live in that said poverty. So he blames the majority of people on the planet for acting in an everyday sort of human way, which, by the way, adds money to your own communities. If you're buying a coffee, you're giving money to your own community. You're engaging in local economics and making your own little area wealthy. But he believes that everybody should live at the poverty level. He literally thinks that's the solution. If we're all living in poverty, we're all suffering. That is just a wonderful conclusion to his observations of reality. So
I'm just a bit surprised. I thought you'd be saying the opposite of what you're saying. I thought you hate capitalism and buying stuff.
Oh no, yeah, this is the point. So he observes famine exists. He therefore thinks that the people should pay for that famine, even if it means living in poverty themselves. But what this nasty monster doesn't ever do, and he thinks, by the way, the way he thinks, the majority of leading lecturers in America think this as well, is that what they don't do is ask, well, how did that famine happen in the first place? How did that war happen in the first place? He just observes reality as a thing that just materializes in front of his eyes. There is, in his brain, there's no possibility whatsoever that economic horror and mono farming could ever lead to absolute horrors, because his mates in his universities are the very same mates that profit from mono farming, from monopoly, from free markets, from the poverty that this horror has engaged in so readily with his own personal and professional life. So just to summarize, I think I've gone a little bit over time, apologize. Just to summarize, he believes that the horrors of the world happen by magic. Don't look at the man behind the curtain. Never do that. Just throw money at the problem, which money has always been thrown at for the last 2,000 years. Poverty has always existed. And the only reason it's always existed is because he's never bothered to look at the man behind the curtain. So that's my opening speech. Thank you. Sorry for going a bit over.
That's cool.
I forgot to press my stopwatch.
So we're still going clockwise, are we?
Oh yeah, we should always go clockwise.
Cool. All right, cool. Okay, so I'm gonna start by just responding to, because I love the comments. I appreciate people being here. So I'll start with this. It says Dustin Khaled are on the extremes of the debate. Yeah, I think we are. But he says, will Martin balance the scales and prove a mixed economy is sexy, moral, and brings balance to the force? You know what? I think I'm in the middle. Maybe I'm on the extreme end, far away from Dust in many ways, but he just defined what I think is Mr. Lo Wang, the rest of your username, is basically saying what I believe in, which is the mixed economy, a bit of good deeds, social responsibility within normal capitalist market system. That's sexy. And on top of that, he did some quick research or something and copy pasted a great quote from Peter Singer, which makes Peter Singer sound like somebody who's very reasonable, who believes in what Dust believes in, which is you should have a socialist system within a capitalist economy. So, be social welfare and all the basic needs of humanity. So anyway, I like that. Thanks for that, Loang. I'm going to quickly share my screen as usual and read my thing as much as I can. It's not too much this time, I don't think. Share the tab. I'll be very quick. As usual, as a Muslim, I take my wisdom from the Quran, the guidebook for all of humanity, if they wish. And very quickly, let's make it even a bit bigger. Here's a verse of the Quran. And as to those who disbelieve, their deeds are like a mirage in a desert. The thirsty one thinks it to be water until when he comes up to it, he finds it to be nothing. And he finds Allah, that's just means the one true God, finds Allah near him, who then fully pays him his account, and Allah is swift at reckoning. Okay, and you can, if you want, I'll be putting this document and the link that it goes to, etc., to the Quran, if you want, be in the pinned comment. So anyway, what does that got to do with this topic, which is, should you feel guilty by buying things, or as Das says, is buying things evil?
Peter Singer. That's a quote from Peter Singer, just to clarify.
Which one?
Peter Singer is buying things evil. That's a quote from Peter Singer.
Oh, I see. I see what you mean. Okay, but it's also the title that we agreed on. Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
So the guilt felt after indulging in buying addiction is self-awareness, which God lets you feel so that you may reflect and stop your addiction. We buy things we do not need. So of course you need to buy certain things to live. But I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about buying excessive things. We buy things we do not need because we think they will fill the emptiness of our lives. So many of us, let's correct that, I think. So many of us have chosen that are empty of meaning. But the excitement we feel when pursuing material pleasures is like the illusion of a mirage. The pleasures only seem like they will quench our thirst from far away. But when we get them, we realize that pleasure was nothing. At that time, they have a brief glimpse of reality, cleared of their latest delusion, and find God near them, who gives them what they deserve, a mini hell, the result of their empty lives. It is at this point they can change their lives or continue chasing more materialistic mirages. That's all I've got to say about
that. Have you finished?
Yeah.
So just to clarify, that last paragraph, is that from the Quran?
So I'm paraphrasing the Quran. So the Quran says things like, you find it to be nothing. And then I use the similar words. Those pleasures were nothing in reality. And I'm describing the mirage that the Quran poetically refers to. So
just to clarify, is buying a coffee or an ice cream for your child, is that due? Because Peter Singer will class you as evil for doing that. Would you agree with Peter Singer's assessment?
I think you have to have a careful balance. So I try to buy small things rather than big things for my kids. for certain occasions. So every Friday we buy some very cheap ice creams, 10p, 50p, whatever, and to remind them today is celebration day and it's celebrating family and unity and non-materialism in ways, right? It's just like doing something. You don't actually have to buy ice cream to do it, but just to make them think, oh, we're doing something different today. Do you know what I mean? So yes, it's a careful balance. You can buy things, but they're not the heart of our connection. They often ways to connect. Sometimes we buy food and we say, let's eat together rather than eat alone. So it's always a careful balance. Material things are not evil of themselves. They can be of good, of benefit or not. But if we try to get our pleasure directly through the material things rather than using them to connect to other people, be of service or do good things, then that's bad. It's not just a religious point of view. This is known by psychologists. Yeah. So I'm just responding. So psychologists say, for example, if you buy coffee for other people, you'll find more happiness than buying it for yourself. So coffee is generally a luxury. It's just my answer is find the middle way. That's the Islamic teaching. So I just want to say I am the middle way, Lo Wang. I hope you realize that. That's it.
Okay, thank you. And Martin, please velvet our ears with your wisdom.
Oh, I don't know if I've got any wisdom, but I can talk for 5 minutes.
I'm sure we'll hear some wisdom. Go for it. Don't worry. Very humble.
Not my little timer. I might have to address one thing you were saying there before, but let me just do my little bit here. So the quote: should we feel bad for purchasing, or is it evil to buy things? And I was sitting there thinking, well, I go buy a book or something like that. I guess I could be helping a small independent book owner if I'm buying a book from there and I'm helping his business. The stronger that business becomes, the better that community becomes. For example, if I go to Sound Lounge and I'm buying food from there, I'm supporting that business, which means it gets to stay there longer, which means more people can come and play music and more people benefit. So I think there's a really good. It's not necessarily evil because you are helping independent businesses and helping the community to kind of stay together. I think trying to give what you can is always good, and that's a bad thing. And you try and, if you can go into a charity shop, you can get some really good stuff there. And as I've seen about a neighbour that passed away where we had these photos and these kind of like little trinkets and stuff, you can find that in a charity shop, and it's kind of nice to think, wow, someone's story there. Or you can find a book and it will say happy birthday to my brother or whatever. You kind of think, I wonder what the story is behind that. And so yeah, you can it's always good to try and support those guys. Example, we always go to secondhand bookshops, buy secondhand clothes. You can do really creative stuff with it, and it would be sad to think all these items are just kind of gone. So it's a good thing to kind of support these charity shops. But then I was thinking, as I was thinking about this question last night and writing notes, because originally I was like, I'm not quite sure how to talk about this for like 5 minutes or something. I'm not quite sure where to go with it. But I was kind of thinking, well, maybe start to look at it more like how much of that money, when you go to Oxfam to buy that book, how much of that money is going directly to help the charity, and how much is it going into maybe someone else's pocket? How much of that £1 is actually going to go and help someone, £2, whatever? And I thought, so then maybe the next step is to question why that poverty exists in the first place. Why in theory we shouldn't need charity shops, I guess, in one way. I mean, why is that war happening there, that then those people are now find themselves in a third world country where they don't have clean water, food, shelter, the basics for any human being? Maybe the question is to look at that. So rather than saying me going to buy a secondhand T-shirt for 50p, I'm not the bad guy. The people that are behind that, or the people we look at, if we want to call them the bad people, are the ones that are driving that war to begin with. that then results in me showing my humanism and going, wow, I really feel bad for people. Maybe if I buy this T-shirt or these books, maybe I feel better because I feel like maybe I'm trying to help.
Martin,
yeah, sorry.
do you think your humanity is being exploited by charity?
Maybe to some degree it is. Maybe it's. I mean, maybe if I'm rich and powerful, then, or I'm making profit off war and weapons and whatever, I can sit back and maybe you'd be sitting there laughing, going, look at these people buying T-shirts, thinking they're helping, they're not doing anything, and I'm making all this money from sending more weapons to another country to go and fight another country, which would make me more money. Maybe people's genuine feeling of maybe wanting to help, volunteering in charity shops, feeling like they're trying to do something good, is being exploited because we think we're trying to do good, but what we need to maybe do is take that energy and really question why that poverty exists in the first place. Why is that war there, famine, and what caused that? That's where if you see what I'm sort of saying, maybe that's where we need to think about it. So I don't think. Sorry.
Would you like to volunteer a proposal? What could be one of the reasons why war exists in the first place? Like in Ukraine.
I don't think Kat would necessarily agree with this, but I would say a big reason behind war is obviously it's all down to profit, money, power, control over people. There's always money to be made out of it. There's nothing good that comes from it. And
yeah, I would agree. Why would I disagree with that?
There's well, the next bit is what I'm going to say. One of the biggest groups that profit the most and gain the most from it would be those Abrahamic religions, loving to pull the strings and loving to see more war with this disguise of going, we're about love and peace, but I don't see it. And more trying to drive people against each other, and which we have discussed in other videos, but yeah. So
I'm just trying to see how that's true in the Ukraine example.
The only other, I'm over my 5 minutes, but
okay, sure.
There was something you said in your paragraph. Sort of there, I was going to come back to, but I can come back to in a second if someone else wants to speak.
No. You should finish your.
Yeah. I mean, I'd love to.
Okay. You said about pleasure in everything. So I'm not I'm kind of questioning a little bit or thinking this through. So when you said you say pleasure in everything, because what I was thinking was, I buy a guitar, and I get happiness from playing that instrument, and I get a lot of pleasure from that instrument. It's not necessarily filling a gap in my life. And when I buy it, and then I get happiness and fulfillment from playing it. I get a feeling of pride as I get better and I learn to do more stuff with it, and then and people go, oh wow, you're really improving. That sounds really good. And then I start to learn more and more songs, and then from that pleasure I'm getting from it, I then pass that to other people, because then I get up and play, and people hear the song and they go, oh, I really like that song. He's done a really good cover of that song, So I was just sort of disagreeing with that a little bit, because I don't think it's sort of you're empty, because when for example a whole group of us could get together, find pleasure in the instruments we've brought.
Martin, you're going on to the next question here, by the way.
Sorry, yeah, it was just that little bit there.
That is the next question that we have lined up. So let's not get in a debate on that now.
Okay,
and if people like that debate, we'll be having that next.
Okay,
cool.
It was just that little gap in sort of pleasure in buying an item.
No, but also it's relevant, isn't it?
Rewarding other people, so that's
what
I was saying.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Go on, next person.
Alrighty.
Cool.
So thank you, Khaled. Thank you, Martin, for your contributions there. So Peter Singer, I think he's a very influential individual, and he really appeals to rich kids and monsters. So I believe that one of our watchers actually might know Peter Singer, as in heard of him already. So if he could confirm that's true, that'd be lovely. And how he heard of him in the first place. So what Peter Singer really is suggesting is a permanent cycle of poverty, permanent cycle of misery, permanent cycle of slavery. That's what Peter Singer is really talking about. And the reason why his intellectual friends who follow him, spout his nonsense, never say or question his insanity, is because they profit from it. His universities profit, Harvard profits from this horrible misery. Because guess who owns these charities? Who owns these charities that the poor not only give their money to, but give their time for free? I mean, this is how disgusting it is. Who owns these charities? The very same people who come from those wealthy backgrounds, who run these businesses with the sole aim for making themselves richer, and they pay themselves very handsomely for never solving a problem. And their business model, charities' business model, is dependent that poverty exists in the first place. Their business model is dependent that poverty exists in the first place. So you end up with a perverse sickness where these people that run these charities are actually lobbying governments to make sure that the poor stay poor, that capitalism is dominant, that misery is dominant, that early mortality is dominant, lack of education is dominant, so that this cycle of sickness and self-gratitude is permanent and a cycle which is not, I mean, Khaled thinks that history only started recently, but this topic has literally been going on for thousands of years, of these rich kids who own the Abrahamic religions constantly repeating the same utter nonsense constantly. And as Martin just said a moment ago, it's these same Abrahamic leaders of your religions who, behind the scenes, the men behind men, women behind the curtain, are pushing this agenda of hatred and division. I mean, division. Yeah, interrupting.
No, yeah. Actually, I'm trying to understand, like in the case of this recent war in Ukraine, where are the Abrahamic actors? Just
that's very easy.
okay.
Very easy. Firstly, it started off with a Nazi group doing a coup in the Ukraine. Please go, if you don't believe that, please go to the Times of Israel and type in Ukraine, and you'll come up with lots of articles talking about Nazis in Ukraine. So please go to the Times of Israel. Don't believe the nonsense that is floating around in the media saying, oh no, there's no Nazis in Ukraine. And guess who supports those Nazis? Who is funding those Nazis? America, via NATO. And America has pumped billions of pounds into weapons to into the Ukraine once they helped initially instigate the war to begin with, because there were Russians in the Ukraine to exist with already. And so the Americans are the Abrahamic, Biden is Christian, Catholic, sorry, same thing. And he's the same as Khaled. There's no difference between Khaled and Biden. There is the same entity, the same passion and drives. Biden is obviously much more diplomatic in his hatred of people, and he gets by through pretending to be liberal and soaking up that goodwill which we were talking about earlier. He claims to be a man of charity and goodwill. People believe that, and therefore accidentally fund more terrorism, more war, more poverty. So charity, I mean, let's not forget, Richard, when you give money to charity, you being the average person, it's very different to Bill Gates. Bill Gates gets it tax-free on his investments into his own charities. He tax dodging. For him, charity is a tax job for his own personal business, like the Bill Gates Trust. Absolutely gross and disgusting. And yeah, it's disgusting. Peter Singer is disgusting and has created the misery and horror that we see today. But Abrahamic religions, the people that follow it, they get to say, oh, look how terrible people in the West are, how terrible they are. The Abrahamic children, like Khalid, they profit personally and profit and become the ultimate consumers. Thank you.
Cool. Okay. So lots of interesting points. Made sure it's my turn. Yeah. How much have I got? 1 minute or 2 minutes or what?
Oh, we're doing 5 minutes.
Oh, is it? Oh, we keep doing 5 minutes. Okay. Fine. Cool. Anyway, so
No, we just cycle through 5 minutes thereabout.
Cool. Okay, sure. So some interesting comments. One about charity shops. They're not just about giving money to war-torn countries, etc., but they also recycle fashion, which is a huge pollutant. So in Jordan, we have a lot of shops that are not called charity shops, but they basically give secondhand clothes, which is fantastic, you know, and they repair shoes and stuff and then reuse them rather than polluting the world. There's some statistics for people who don't know. 10% of global greenhouse gases, gas emissions, and more than international flights. Sorry, so 10% of global greenhouse gases are due to fashion. 20% of global wastewater is due to fashion or making clothes, and 35% of microplastics and all sorts of other synthetic materials due to fashion. So it's really useful.
Right. Are you acknowledging that climate change now exists?
I'm saying pollution is different to climate change. Putting plastics into.
You said 10% of the.
Oh yeah, maybe. Yeah. Oh, by the way, I didn't. Oh, it's good.
So you're now confirming you believe in climate change?
Yeah. I've always believed in climate change. Just to clarify that. I believed in climate change, but a lot of climate change is good, especially CO2 climate change, which we've scientifically established creates more greenery and helps things grow and whatever. Yeah.
So you brought the 10% thing as a positive. Then you're saying it's good to have.
Oh no, I should have. I think
creates more green plants.
No. You got a good point. You got a good point. Let me clarify the good point. Okay, so there's different greenhouse emissions. There's some that destroy the ozone layer. That's bad. Okay, chemicals and stuff like that. That's bad. Okay, they're not really particularly natural. They're synthetic. But CO2, natural from dead animals and plants, just being recycled. So different. So good point there. Thanks for letting me clarify that. So yeah, what else was that? So we can. Oh, you made a great point, Martin, about you can get pleasures from things that provide value. That's good. I believe in that. And then you gave the example of music, which we'll be talking about. I won't go into too much, but because we'll be doing that in the next stream. But it's a very important topic. So we can find pleasure from material things if there is meaningful reason behind it. So meaningful, according to Viktor Frankl, is about the psychologist Viktor Frankl, who talks about how to be happy, is basically doing good things as best as you can understand. So I think you can do it that way. However, if I'm trying to be difficult and getting into the music thing, or generally speaking, according to this verse of the Quran, it's disbelievers who find things that are relatively empty. So, however, if you do not believe in God, you will keep choosing relatively materialistically empty pleasures, which include music. Which we'll go into more later. And then I can't take. I struggle. I mean, Dust made somehow a point, but I'm not sure if I can take it too seriously. Is Abrahamic? So America Abrahamic? The big, obviously clearly the biggest supporter of this Ukraine war. Biden is Catholic. sure, but all his actions, no, that's what you say, right? Okay, he's Catholic,
Completely.
yet he completely ignores his religion, supports LGBT. So I don't know what he really is. I think actions speak louder than words.
He
So
allegedly supports LBGT, but really he does that because unlike you, I did specify this in my thing.
he pretends to be liberal. You said, yes.
Yeah, unlike you, you're just proud to be hateful of that group. Where
No, I'm not hateful. I'm just realistic. Yeah,
hateful, but
it's not hateful. It's called facts. Yeah.
Well, yeah, we disagree on that. But Biden would hide his hatred. So just Clown, that's why you two are different. But otherwise, you're the same. Exactly the same.
But
person.
see, so my question was, does Dust know better? Like on this is what he's practically doing. He's supporting this whole LGBT agenda practically. He might say
Literally.
So what can you say? I mean, how is he not supporting it is a question. So, that's what I've got to. I suppose that's what I've got to say about that. Yeah. Okay.
Very good. That was 5 minutes 30 seconds. Brilliant timing.
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Martin.
Okay, I don't know if I've got 5 minutes of stuff to say, really.
Well, I'll ask you some questions. Khaled and me will question you. Khaled, you've got to interrupt people. It's part of the debate.
Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah.
And you're obliged under the contract that we signed.
Okay.
That you've got to interrupt people.
Yeah.
Look, it's right there.
Okay, so what do you think, Martin? This interesting point you made about buying things can be meaningful. Do you agree that if you buy meaningful things, what I mean by that is trying to give benefit to people, then it can be useful, and if it's not meaningful, then it can be very vacuous and empty, and you will not feel fulfilled. Do you agree with that?
I don't know. I don't have to sort of think about it a bit.
Okay.
So I mean, like if I buy, I don't know, it's just a thought process.
What about cocaine? What about cocaine? Will that make you happy?
It's not going to make you ultimately happy. It's only going to give you a brief rush, whatever cocaine does to someone. But it's going to give you obviously long-term negatives. But in that moment, that kind of drug is going to give you a small, boost of extreme happiness or energy or whatever it might do. But I don't know if you can't compare that to say a book or a musical instrument or something else, because that could give meaning to someone over and over and over again, not necessarily doing any harm. Like a book can be passed down.
I think there's a misunderstanding. We're agreeing. I think we're agreeing.
Okay.
Because we are comparing and saying you don't buy cocaine, but you buy books, don't you, Martin?
I buy a lot of books, yeah.
Yeah. And there's a reason, because there's more meaningful and useful. And I'm saying there's like more selfish versus more altruistic buying. There's if you're too go on. Yep, go on. Martin. Too much interrupting.
But do you think there's good value in something, as in like I'm saying I buy a book and I write in the front to my niece, I hope this inspires you, or whatever, something like that. And then one day she finds it, she reads it, she goes, wow. Then she writes a note for her kid or whatever, and it gets passed down, and it's like a nice family tradition. And then
Agreed.
I like the idea that then, for whatever reason, it might end up in a charity shop. Someone finds it and goes, wow, look at all this. Look at all these generations that have written this nice note. Wow, that's so cool. I want to keep that just as a nice memory of these people and maybe whatever their story might have been. I like that idea. Yeah, I don't know if anyone has any questions.
No, I agree. I just feel like we agree.
Khaled,
go on. Am I interrupting too much? Okay, go on.
Yes, indeed. So here's an interesting thought that you may be able to muse upon, hopefully, to us. Is it even possible that money can solve the problems, or is it going to be political and collective thoughts of a political nature which solves a problem? Does that make sense? That question.
Yeah, I think so. Who's gonna
Can money? Because Peter Singer, who's the premise of all this question, thinks that money solves problems. Is that true?
I'd like. Sorry, Candy. I just want to say one quick answer to that. Maybe I don't think money would solve it, because obviously it's corruptible, and you can be fueled by the greed and the corruption, and I think to change things, or to really do something, you need strong sort of political movements from people together. I think that's a powerful way of changing things. I think money can be useful, but there's obviously, as we can see at the moment, there's a danger that it's going to corrupt people, or corrupt the goal of maybe what they were originally intending to achieve. There you go. That's it.
I agree that money has its uses. Like Martin was saying, you could spend your money in different local shops that you believe in.
Khaled, it's my turn.
I thought you were asking a question that both of us are going to answer. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I'll go on.
My turn.
Anyway,
you can. I think
go on. Sorry, on.
Yeah, you can add that. We still got one more round each, thereabouts. Just about, if we're all very efficient. So, I mean, it's an interesting point you brought up, Mr. Khaled, regarding repairing stuff, because capitalism has destroyed the local economy in the West, where repairing stuff is now so ridiculous to try and do, because it's cheaper to buy a new one. But they've created that reality. And what is meant by cheaper is that some children are now making clothes which capitalists have made happen. And again, capitalism is an Abrahamic reality. Capitalism has made it now, so because they're employing children who they don't pay, and and adults who they don't pay, that in other the countries where they don't have that, because we have laws here in the West banning a minimum, not paying people a proper wage or employing children. Because we have that, all the capitalists have done is gone, right, well, we'll just go to another country, buy that country and their politicians, and create a workforce of slavery. That creates the poverty, that creates the famine and the despair and wars, which repetitively change. While the West, they don't tell the West in their media, because they own the media as well. Or they just say, you're the West, in the West, you're to blame for buying things. You're the scum, just because you wanted to buy an object, a computer to help you improve your life, a guitar to help you improve your life, a school to help you improve your life, a hospital to help you improve your life. So oh my Lord. You have to remind me to make sure I start my stopwatch. I'll just go on for another 2.5 minutes. Yeah, so I need. So the repair thing is they destroy the market where we can actually repair something and make that a valuable and rewarding situation. So disbelievers. I mean, it's just such a cruel indictment of a human being. So cruel, so easy to say, and so lacking understanding of the matrix that we're forced to live in. Peter Singer is one of these people that
just checking. You're quoting. You're referring to my quote, yeah?
Yeah, you said disbelievers.
Okay. Yeah, that's correct. No, just making sure.
It's such a insidious and cruel, but it's a very simple and easy thing to say. Just blame people you don't understand or know, who are working in and having to force to live in a system that they have no power in. I mean, it's just one of the great examples how the Abrahamic brainwash their children into this cycle of poverty and condemnation of the situations that they have very little education in and understanding of. That's how the children of Abrahamic religions are brought up, in this vacuum of a void, vacuum of God, vacuum of humanity. But because they're told, oh, yeah, you're a wonderful person and you are part of God, there you go. Well, I don't need to do any work on this subject anymore. I don't need to do any more research. I don't actually need to engage and live and be part of a world that they're the people I condemn, because I'm going to heaven. I'm the chosen one. I've lived a life of what I've been told is holy. I mean, one of the comments, we just had a comment a moment ago. I don't know if you can bring it up. Someone said Peter Singer sounds godless. Can you bring that up?
Yep.
Yeah. Welcome to your Abrahamic religion. It is godless. It's just made up.
But he's not Abrahamic.
That's
This
not how.
commenter. Okay, go on.
Welcome to your religions. They're just made up. Your life, you're told that this is the way to God. No, the way to, if you want to believe in something like that, spirituality. You don't need organized religion to tell you how to exist or what is right. If you want to understand organized religion, it's just privatization of your faith. That's what the Abrahamic religions have done. They privatized, just like the water companies. You need to drink water to live and grow. I'll be 30 more seconds. Energy to live and grow. Privatize that. Your spirituality was privatized and enslaved for the purpose, like people like Peter Singer, who can walk around condemning 6 billion people now on the planet, 5 billion people on the planet, who he's never met, and he lives in the height of fucking luxury. Oops, sorry, I swore. Apologies. Lives in the height of absolute gross luxuries, even though he may be materially barren, but all his mates are rich little kids in the university. So, yeah, repairing. We used to have to repair shops here, and we used to repair our shoes. But the capitalists made that absolutely ridiculous proposition, because the capitalists are hiring the children. Money solves nothing. It's politics that solves the problems of all life. Thank you.
Cool. Okay. My turn. Yeah. Okay. So capitalism has Dust says money solves nothing. I think I'll write that down. Money solves nothing. Hey. I'll put it as a question. Okay, capitalism does have a useful function. So we can, as Martin says, support good businesses. But also, Martin says, it can be corrupted. So I describe capitalism or money as a voting system, right? But we don't all have the same votes. Okay, some people have more money, therefore more votes, and have more power, and this can be very dangerous. Doesn't mean that they shouldn't have more power. Some people earn more power and that makes them more, because they're just more effective, more hardworking, possibly, right? But some people are more corrupt as well. There's different ways to making money. So capitalism has a function, but agreed, you need a system, you need a moral system to do two things: to set up systems to help the poor people so they're not oppressed, because that's easily happens, and we've talked about that capitalism many times and the Islamic version of capitalism, but also very clear moral teachings, like Dust was saying. You need a charter. I'm not sure what the word is. Basically, very clear set of rules. We're not able to define those clear set of rules ourselves, because we get confused very easily. So Islam,
not we.
All of us. No. For example, people say something.
You can't condemn everyone just because you're weak.
Anyway, so just like we saw last time, people were conflating logic with hate. They're saying, oh, they couldn't counter the arguments I was making that, for example, LGBT is harmful objectively. Even the NHS will tell you that in different ways.
That's a lie.
But they were conflating that with hate. It's like, no, it's just a logical argument, but any argument you can't beat, you call it hate. So people get confused very easily. That's why we need very clear set of rules. And you can objectively check. Although we can't create those rules because they're too beyond our ability, because they involve knowing everything about humanity to create those rules. But if you inspect those rules one by one, you go, oh yeah, that makes sense scientifically. It has an overall positive effect on the world. That's what you find in Islamic rules. It's a really interesting point Duss makes about we've stopped repairing things. I've just noticed that, so thank you for bringing that to our attention. Has capitalism stopped us from repairing things? I think greed and the need. Don't know why I'm pluralizing everything.
But it rhymes.
Greed and the need to have the latest things so that we can show off to others has stopped us from reusing and repairing. In Jordan, people value themselves less through things, so they do not feel bad about reusing things. So I think it's a hedonistic, selfish, individualistic approach.
Martin has just declared he buys a lot of clothes from charity. And so a lot of people in the UK do as well. So that contradicts. You haven't listened to Martin's testimony just a moment ago.
I'm agreeing with both of you, because you're saying we're not repairing. Okay, and I agree that's happening less. I think there might be a stigma. I think it's great. I think sometimes we keep feeling we're disagreeing when we're agreeing. So I'm agreeing. Martin saying, buy stuff from secondhand shop. I think that's great. And I talked about why that's great. It helps the environment. So that, and then, so the other point was about, oh yeah, so you made I like that you made a point referring to the Quranic verse about when I mentioned disbelievers, yeah? Because often when I give the translation, it's important to say that the Quran is only truly the Quran in Arabic, because it's such a deep language that when you translate from one word to one word, it's not good enough. So one of the things I often do when I translate the word disbelievers is explain the root of that word, because it's a very mathematical language. It has a root-based system where you can objectively know what it means. It basically means people who actively hide away from the obvious reality, the clear reality that there's a God. So disbelievers is not just a negative term, but describes the root of the problem, actively fighting the obvious reality that God exists, and that we should let go of our ego to God, who wants to share our efforts for the greater good. So we let go of our ego. We say, hey, God, you're our creator. You want us to be kind to everybody because you're like a father figure to us all. And then we do that and we'll be happier and we'll make better choices. So it's describing people who don't like that idea and don't want to let go of their personal ego and making themselves God, essentially. That's it.
Martin, do you want to come and make any comments?
Only a little one. When you said the translation thing, that's a big problem with religion is the translation thing, and the message is definitely going to get lost. So maybe these religions need a better method. I don't know.
No, that's why I call it a mathematical approach. It's a mathematical religion, has a very objective meanings. Yeah.
That little paragraph you said there, to think that it's about ego, or to it's kind of like to say what Duss said there, like to put all disbelievers, to put all people that aren't part of your religion, whatever religion that might be, for to say that they're what describes your active. I mean, I'm a non-believer, and there is no obvious reality that has a God existing in any way, but I can still go out there with an item that I brought and still do good for people, and kind of in a way improve their happiness and give to the community, with no God involved at all. Completely, I've done it plenty of times. I think that paragraph there is a little bit murky there. I think that's all I kind of really wanted to comment on. I think.
Shall we do our 1 minute thing to finish off? 1 minute each. What do you think, Dust?
I think that sounds beautiful.
Cool.
Do you want to go first, Khaled?
Cool. Yeah. So, thank you for everybody's responses and helped me explain things in more detail. So, first of all, people sometimes feel bad that some arguments are made clear. You have to be clear about stuff, and we say this is good for you, that's bad for you. And it's not that we hate people, Muslims hate people. It's just, in fact, because of love. You point out things that are bad for you. If there's an addiction to something like shopping materialism, then we point that out, that rather your focus should be on serving, and you can use materialistic things to serve people and you will stay happy. And Martin said that you know what, he's an example of people who can find happiness through materialistic things without believing in God. And I'm saying anybody can claim things about themselves, but statistically, as we increase in godlessness and focus on materialism, people are not able to do it statistically. That's it.
Martin, the
Do you want me to do my
You
1
ready?
minute or
please,
yeah,
conclusion?
closing? Well, so my little conclusion there is I think still try and buy stuff from charity shops. There are really good people there, but I think the bigger issue is to look at why that poverty exists in the first place, why that war is there in the first place, and address the people that are profiting from that human suffering. I know the average person on the high street buying that second-hand book is doing it for lots of good reasons. They're not bad people. You're not a bad person for buying something. But the bigger issue is sort of, the war and the poverty and all that sort of stuff is, I think it's in a big way in Abrahamic religions. But I close with just saying, do try and support these little shops. Don't feel bad about buying things at all, because you could be helping the family keep their business going, and that's always good. Independent businesses deserve to be supported, definitely. There you go.
Wow, that was perfectly on a minute, by the way. Perfectly on a minute. So, Peter Singer, part of this Abrahamic construct, they never want you to ask why that poverty exists, what's behind that poverty, because it goes against their own interests of making gross profits out of misery and poverty in this world. Everything is designed, when it comes to human interactions, of course, by other humans. And everything is designed, even the thing that Khaled criticizes people for, which is wanting to buy new things. That thought was put into your mind by capitalism. We did a talk last week on that, regarding how PR companies exploit and hack people's minds and use scientists to pervert truth and understanding. So the ultimate conclusion is that no, you're not evil for buying things, but because there's no such thing as evil, because that's a ridiculous concept. But there is the horror of this world, which is the Abrahamic religions who use capitalism to create slavery and poverty, and then blame you for the horror that they do and walk away with all the wealth. They are the richest people on the planet. Thank you.
Thank you. Done. Great.
Oh, say goodbye.
Yeah, thank you very much, everybody. So we're going to jump out of this stream and jump into another. Oh, go on.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. Thank you for your comments. They've been useful, exquisite, exciting. Khaled, you're the great mind challenge that we face. Martin, you're the great thinker and a wonderful contributor. Thank you for your time, Khaled, Martin. My name is The Dust, and I have officially settled. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Martin, do you want to say something? I'm just saying thank you, but Martin, anything else?
Thank you for contributing, and that earlier thing they said, I find middle ground. Hopefully I helped in some way. But yeah, thanks for being involved. And
Oh yeah, thanks
video.
guys, live chat people. Thank you very much.
Call us out
All right.
if we're making mistakes and stuff. Always.
Exactly. That's what you. Yeah. That's very true.
Oh, one
Thank
more
you.
thing. One more
Oh
thing.
yes.
I'll send you the link to Peter Singer's article so that people can read and discover the disgusting things that we've been talking
Well,
about.
you can post it in the comments, isn't it?
Yeah, I did. I've been.
Oh, you know what? You have to send it to me because I'm not sure. I think YouTube sometimes blocks links, isn't it? Doesn't it? I think it does.
We'll work it
So
out.
you can send it
So
to me and
thank
I'll do it. Yeah, cool. All right, guys. See you in the next stream. I posted the link in the live comments in the live chat. It's about music, art, poetry, a path to truth? ? Okay, catch you in the next one. Bye.
Wow, what an exciting subject.
Bye bye.
Bye.